Hi everyone, I'm going to be talking you through how I make my carrot cake. It's not my own recipe, but I do a modified version of the recipe that I'm going to post in the description box, so I definitely think it's worth watching the video so you know what I do differently. I add in less sugar and I do things a little bit, I think, my own way. For this, I first start off by making an unsweetened applesauce which has cloves and cinnamon in it, just to give it a little bit more flavour, and it's one of the easiest things to make, so you don't really it's not really that much of extra effort, but I definitely think it's worth it. It makes the cake a lot more moist. While that's going on, I then toast some oh gosh, my throat. I toast some pecan nuts, and that just adds a little bit of texture to the cake. In my mind, a good carrot cake has nuts and also raisins in it as well, and I think it just adds a little bit more flavour and, like I said, a little bit more texture, so it's definitely worth the extra effort. At this point, I'm sorting out the sugar for the recipe, and I use less than what the recipe calls for. So I add in 100 grams of each of the light brown and the dark brown sugar, and then I follow that up with 75 grams of granulated sugar. With regards to the spice mix that's going in now, I just use the ground cinnamon and ground ginger and nutmeg, purely because I've flavoured the applesauce previously with the flavour of clove. I don't want that to be too overpowering, and I actually don't really measure that. I kind of chuck in more than what the recipe calls for, but I go by smell when I think it smells what I would want a carrot cake to smell like. So here the carrots are finely grated, and I think I used a total of 5 because I remember having to go and grate another one later on. At this point, I'm mushing up the apples that were stewed down and then mixing all of the wet ingredients together with all the sugar. And I think I then add the eggs. Yeah, I'm adding the eggs, 1 egg at a time. Just to make sure that they're all well incorporated. That's the last egg done, and then I'm going to add the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients. At this point, you'll know whether you've added enough of the dry spices from earlier, because I don't know what it does, but the scent of the spices becomes more evident after you've added the wet ingredients. So you could add more of the dry spices, but be careful, because obviously if you add just dry things into wet, it's just kind of like you get lumps and you don't really want that. I think at this point I'm trying to mix it all together. Once that's all mixed, then you can add in your grated carrots. I think I realised at that point that I should have probably added half in first because I've overloaded it, but it was okay. I kind of just carried on and it wasn't really going to be that bad. Oh yeah, and then the chopped nuts go in as well at this point. I can't remember if I had more than one. No, I had half at a time. And then you add in the raisins afterwards. I made a mistake and bought the wrong type of raisins because they were only ones that were left. You could probably just buy sultanas, but these are like a mixed ones. I'm not a great fan of them, but I mean, they still did the job. And then we finally get around to obviously baking the cakes. I've skipped that bit, but I did 3 separate tins. Kind of messed that up as well at home. It was the first time baking this cake at home, and the oven's a lot better, so But anyway, the cakes didn't turn out dry because of that applesauce, which is great. I then also made a cream cheese frosting. I haven't put the recipe down for that, and I didn't use the recipe that's on the one that's for the cake that comes with the cake, because I always find that it messes up, and I don't really like that. Like it just isn't. You don't end up with like a thick cream cheese frosting. So I've used a different recipe, and yeah, that works perfectly. So I recommend that one. So I've done a 3-tier one. I don't know why I made the cake when it was Eve and it was really, really, really hot. So cream cheese frosting was kind of bound to melt really, and it didn't really. Basically, I'm just going to skip forward on me icing this cake because it's the worst that I've ever done it, and it's not the prettiest, but the taste is there, and that's the main thing. And plus, when I kind of gave it to people, because we were having a picnic, I'd already pre-sliced it, ready to give out to people, so they didn't see the mess that I'd made, which I guess is a bonus. But of course, when you make it at home, you can always take a little bit more time and care, and hopefully it'll look a lot better than mine. That brings me to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Definitely try the cake out, it's worth it. And like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.